In a defensive situation where I'm going to go to a closet, a safe, some other storage area, get to my AR, load it, make it ready, and get into a situation where I defend myself, I may not be worried about having to put the rifle down or do other things with my hands. But we certainly can foresee the plausibility of needing some other way to keep the firearm attached to us when we're not able to put our hands on it. That way is going to be a sling or a carry strap. Now, the sling or carry strap selection that you make is very important. I think all defensive long guns should have a sling or a carry strap. The single point sling is probably going to be the best for a home defense situation or any kind of environment where you're going to be moving around different pieces of cover, where you're going to be moving around very rapidly, you're going to keep the firearm in close to you, and it's probably going to be of a short duration. The single point sling allows you to keep the firearm right here in front of you. When you're ready to use it, you reach down. Of course, you're going to want to set your sling up so that it does hang in an area naturally where you can reach it quickly, get your hand on the controls, bring it up, and then get it into your good shooting position. The single point sling also, because of that close quarters environment you may be in, requiring shooting around cover or moving around cover or different corners from both sides of your body, is going to allow you to transition. With a single point sling, you're going to be able to bring your control hand up to the front of the firearm, bring your support hand back to the controls, pick the stock up, come over the sling and move it to the off side of your body so that now you can move around with minimal exposure, shooting over here with the left hand, for me because I'm right-handed, around a corner that was to the right side of my body, thus letting me expose much less to a potential threat on the other side. You can picture that if the firearm were still over here, I would have to move around much more and expose this entire half of my body or more, 2/3, to whatever was coming in. By transitioning, I can efficiently get into a situation where I now only have to expose about 1/3 to 1/2 of my body, and still I can have an eye right behind the optic because I have a good cheek weld. So the sling is going to be incredibly important to that situation. Now, let's take a look at what happens when we have a 2-point sling or a carry strap. The 2-point sling, again often called the carry strap, is going to attach at the back of the firearm and at the front. Now, this carry strap or 2-point sling, when we put it on, you will see that a lot of times it'll actually keep the firearm much closer to you. It'll be in a situation where it's maybe even more comfortable to walk around with for long periods of time. Administratively, it's very easy to move it around and get it out of my way. If I have to do something in front of my body, maybe that something is climb a ladder, maybe I'm providing medical care, maybe I'm working on something else in an administrative fashion, but my rifle is still attached to my body. In the event that I was ambushed, in the event that I was caught off guard, I can bring it into play relatively easily. The real downside of this 2-point sling situation is that when I need to do that transition, it's going to be much harder for me to do that. I've got plenty of space here. I'm relatively small through the body. I can get it done, but you can see that now this strap is very close to my control hand. This strap is coming up around my cheek, coming up around my chin, and it's going to get in the way. As soon as I make this a little bit smaller, if this were adjusted to keep this much closer to my body, I'm going to run out of space and not be able to transition. And without choking myself, of course, or actually getting in the way of the operation of the firearm. So a 2-point carry strap type sling that's set optimally to keep the firearm close to your body and roll up into that good strong hand shooting position may not allow you to transition as well. Now, of course, there are techniques to get around that. You can simply bring this hand up, come inside, and then reach up, come back, and rotate over. And that's going to release some of that pressure. You can see this isn't nearly as tight over there, not nearly as tight over here. In this situation, I can come up. Of course, this does mean that the sling also is around my throat, and in a worst case scenario, I fall down or this gets grabbed, could be used to actually choke me or could accidentally choke me. What happens here to avoid that is that we're simply going to get into a situation where we go from our standard 2-point configuration into a situation where we move from this position into taking the firearm sling completely off as we transition. Now I'm going to be here in this position and be able to come up, bring the gun up to my cheek. Now, the particular sling that I'm showing you here, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up on the proper side for the rest of this demonstration for me being right-handed, because when we did an earlier modification on this particular firearm, we saw that we have a plate here which is going to allow us to mount a single-point sling or attach our 2-point sling on either side of the receiver. That way we can use it left-handed or right-handed. When we attach the sling on that side, this particular sling is called an MS2, and it's one of a few types of slings that can go very quickly, very efficiently from single point to 2-point. So in the situation where I'm going to want the administrative convenience of having that 2-point sling, being able to get this out of the way, do what I need to do, get back into a fighting position, get back into going ready to go into that building, or maybe move from wherever I was, I can very quickly and efficiently reach down, open this up, come back here, and now I've converted this, and of course I can lock this now so that it won't come open when I don't want it to. I've now converted this to being a 1-point sling. This single-point sling now is going to allow me to do my transitions when I need to. I can come in and actually very quickly and efficiently, without worrying about my throat, without worrying about taking the sling off, be in that single-point condition. I can go back into the 2-point condition whenever I want to. And another thing that you get a lot of talk about, that people worry about a lot in a military environment, getting in and out of vehicles, maybe vehicles that could crash and be caught on fire. Now you've got a long gun, and this gun is actually trapped somewhere, it's pinned in, you're attached to it. A quick release of some kind, like this one has, a little fob that you can pull on and quickly release yourself from that long gun. Let's say that there was a malfunction or it were empty and someone were pulling you around your house, you could quickly reach up, disconnect from it, and now get into a fighting position, transition to another tool, do whatever it is that you might want to do. Thinking about the sling, the way that you're going to attach yourself to your long gun, attach your long gun to yourself when you're not actually holding it with all 4 points of contact is important. So whether you decide to go with a single point, a 2-point carry strap, or what's called a 3-point sling, which actually combines some of the features of both types, is really going to be up to you. Deciding how you're going to attach your firearm to yourself when you can't have your primary control, when you aren't actually putting your hands on that, is going to be really important. I'm going to strongly suggest that if you're inside of a home, if you're going to be moving to check on family or moving with family to escort them to a safe area, that you seriously consider a single point, which will allow you to make maximum use of cover and concealment and expose as little as possible when you're going around corners very conveniently. Of course, you can go with a single point that also can be conveniently turned into a 2-point when you want that. The last thing that we're going to talk about when we talk about slings is the actual attachment of the sling to the firearm. Now again, we have a plate here set up that actually allows us to go on the left side or the right side, but we may not have that configuration. The other thing that's important to remember is that this is a standard AR type sling swivel that's going to allow us to put the carry strap on. This is actually made for the traditional carry strap. It may not be optimal. It may also not be there. If we go to something like this configuration, we see that there isn't an attachment point for the front. We don't have a way to attach a 2-point sling or a 3-point sling to this particular firearm, but if we get something like this, we can quickly attach that to the rail. So we simply take an Allen wrench, we'd unscrew that, attach it to the rail wherever we wanted it for the right adjustment, for the right length, and be able to put a 2-point sling or a 3-point sling on this AR. So think about how you're going to attach the rifle to yourself. Think about how you're going to attach that to the rifle. Even the single points have a lot of different options. This one is much more like the one that we have on here, a separate and distinct place for the left and the right. That of course means that if you transition, whatever side you're set up for as primary, you're going to have a little more tension, a little more twist. You're going to see things happening back here behind your control hand on one side or the other that you may not want. So something like this plate, which actually attaches here, obviously it's a little noisier, but also that sliding means that when you transition the sling, the rear attachment of that sling or your single point sling are going to be exactly on the appropriate side for your cheek weld as you bring it up. The attachment system for you to your AR is an important consideration for any defensive carbine.